Yo bums, welcome back to the Sportsbumz podcast with Alex and Cody.
Alright, so on today's podcast, episode 4, we will be doing our way too early NFL playoff predictions. We predict the teams winning each division and the teams that get the wild card spots. We also do the playoff bracket, but remember, this is super early, so we might edit our predictions in a later pod right before the beginning of the season. As you guys can understand, there might be certain trades, signings, or injuries. So anyways, I probably should just shut up and let's get started, man.
Okay, so the first division we're going to start with is the NFC South. And of course, well, not of course, because there's a bunch of controversy within this team right now, but I have the Saints finishing number 1 in the division at the record of 10-6. They are the crybaby Saints. They added a lot of talent this year with Ruiz and Vaughn in the draft. They also added Jenkins and Sanders. The reason why I have them kind of low is because, number 1, they're in a tough division. And number 2, they actually have kind of a rough schedule. And I kind of dropped them because of the recent controversy with Drew Brees and his sort of questionable statement. And I feel like that will definitely cause some issues within the locker room. And I don't think they'll be as dominant because the whole team is just getting older. Drew Brees is a year older, and they don't have the reliance of like a Teddy Bridgewater as the backup.
I mean, I have the Saints as the 1 seed coming out of the South too. I have them at 11-5 instead of 10-6. Their division is probably the toughest in the NFC. I mean, I don't think the controversy will lead to as much trouble as you think it will. It'll lead to some trouble, but not as much. But I mean, they did add Cesar Ruiz and Zach Bott in the draft. They went out and got a solid wide receiver 2 with Sanders in free agency. Their defense is pretty much the same as last year, which was pretty good last year. I mean, they're bringing back a lot of people. They didn't lose too many people.
Yeah, but you gotta look at the division. The division is loaded. Like, you got the Bucs, who I have at 9-7 and being a wild card.
Yep.
And the reason why I have them at 9-7 is it'll take them some time to get things going. They're gonna run Brady's system.
I have them at 9-7 too. That's where I have them.
A wild card?
Yep, wild card 9-7.
Yeah, they have to start building this thing up, and it will take a lot of time. Trust me. It's gonna be a totally different offense because Jameis Winston was a total gunslinger turnover machine last year. And I think this will be more of a, running back, a little mid throws and the normal Brady offense. I don't think it's going to be explosive offense, which is why I think actually Mike Evans will have a down year in terms of numbers. But overall, this division is actually really solid because I also have like teams like the Falcons and Panthers doing pretty well too. So that's one of the reasons why I have the Saints and the Bucs have like relatively low records.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Bucs at 9-7 too. I have them taking the second wild card spot. So I have them at the 6th seed. I think it will be a lot of slants. So Chris Godwin's going to have another good year. Mike Evans will be the deep threat. He might be able to utilize Gronk and OJ Howard a lot more. Their running backs aren't that good, but I mean, with all the weapons that they have at receiver and tight end, they don't necessarily need all those great running backs.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so now moving on to the NFC East, where
hold on. I have the Panthers coming out being the 7th seed in the playoffs at 9-7. There's always that one team, that one surprise team in each conference. They were really bad last year, but they come out hot and they make the playoffs. Last year it was the Bills. This year it's going to be the Panthers in the South. They're going to be 9-7 with Teddy Bridgewater. They went out, got Robbie Anderson. They went straight defense in the draft, getting Derek Brown and Gross Matos. I mean, they stocked up on defense. They're young on defense. They have weapons. They have C-Max. They have 3 solid receivers. The only position on offense they're not strong at is tight end, but I think you can overcome that.
Yeah, they did have actually a really good offseason. I think the offense is probably going to be top 6 or 7 in the league with Joe Brady from LSU, and I think the offense is going to be ruled. I think the offense will be deadly, but the defense sucks, dude. Yeah, they did go heavy defense, especially in the first 2 rounds, but they lost their leader in Luke Kuechly, which has been like the focal point of their defense for the past decade. They've lost their number 1 corner in Bradbury. I think their defense wasn't good last year, so I can only see it being worse this year, which is why I have them at 6-11. Which is actually pretty good considering the tough division they're in. And I still think they're going to be a solid team. And I think the year after, where they get some more draft capital and better defenders, they'll be a contender very soon.
I mean, I think their offense is going to flourish under Teddy Bridgewater instead of having Kyle Allen as your quarterback all year. And I mean, the defense will improve because they just drafted straight defense. I mean, I know you lost Bradbury and Kuechly, but I mean, the youth is going to add up eventually. I just think the offense in that division especially, there aren't too many great defenses. It's more of a shootout type game in each division game. So I think they win a few of those shootouts, and I have them making the playoffs with the 7th seed.
Yeah, but I feel like it'll also take them some time to develop the offense because it's going to be a shorter offseason this year, and it's going to be a whole new playbook and a whole new offense. So I think it will take them some time, which is why I think they'll go on a pretty slow start to start off the year. So I think they'll actually have a really hot second end of the season, sort of like the Jets last year. Remember, they started off the season horribly, and they actually ended up with 7 or 8 wins. I think it's going to be that type of situation where you see the potential very late in the season. You'd be like, oh, a team for 2021, they're going to be really good. But I think it's too early for this year for them to make the playoffs.
I don't know. I think that's my one team in the NFC that comes out of nowhere that was bad last year but makes the playoffs this year. They have that big jump. So I have the Panthers at 7.
I have a different team making that jump. All right, so now on to the NFC East, which I only have one team in the division making the playoffs, which is the Eagles.
Yep.
And the Eagles just got a lot better. If they didn't take Jalen Hurts in the second round, I'd be like, oh my god, this Eagles team is loaded this year. But they solved a really big need at corner with Darius Slay, number 1 corner, probably a top 5 to 8-ish corner in the league. And they only have to give up a second round pick. Are you kidding me, Detroit? What are y'all doing? And they also added a player from my favorite team, the Steelers, in Hargrave, who's a great run blocker, and he's going to be a dominant force next to Fletcher Cox. They get all the receivers back. Carson Wentz is not going to be throwing a Ward and Boston Scott all game.
And Whiteside.
Yeah, all these bums he had last year, and I have him going 10-6.
Yep, that's what I got.
Yeah, 10-6, and the only playoff team in the NFC East, and we will speak about that after Cody gives his reason why the Eagles will be playoff team.
Yeah, I have the Eagles at 10-6 as well. I have them winning the division. I mean, they went out, got Slay. They're getting their receivers back, even though I don't think Alshon Jeffrey's all that great. They're getting him back. They drafted Jalen Reagor. They're getting Deshaun Jackson back, even though he's old. Miles Sanders is gonna have a great year this year. He was solid from last year. I think he's gonna be a top 10 to 15 running back in fantasy this year. And I mean, their defensive line and linebackers were already good. Their weakness was the secondary. They went out, got Darius Slay. They solved the main issue on their team. And I mean, I have them going 10-6 too.
All right. So now the big question in the room is, why don't we have the Cowboys? And I don't think the Cowboys I don't think they're that good. I have them finishing 8-8.
Atrocious.
Yeah, but 8-8 the defense is horrible. And you cannot lose 2 of your core pieces on each side of the field. They lost Travis Frederick, who's been a centerpiece of that O-line for this whole decade, which is going to hurt the run game. It's going to hurt the pass game. It's going to hurt the whole O-line in general. And on defense, you lost Byron Jones and Jeff Heath in the secondary. And the secondary sucks now. They're going to be, they did get CeeDee Lamb, but that's not enough. And he's only a rookie, so we don't know I don't think he's right out of the gate going to be an elite receiver. So yeah, the offense can be great, but the defense is horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, the defense is horrendous. And I mean, they can't compete. I mean, Dak can't throw for 350 yards a game, 4 touchdowns. I mean, I understand the pick with CeeDee Lamb. He's too good to pass up at 18, so I like the pick. But I mean, with you losing core pieces on the defense side of the ball, and the defense was the questionable side, even though you overpaid for people like DeMarcus Lawrence and Jalen Smith, the linebacker. Your linebackers are solid, but that's the only spot that you have on the field. You also lose Robert Quinn, which in my opinion was better than DeMarcus Lawrence last year.
Yeah.
So you lose your best edge rusher and 2 core pieces of your secondary. Now your number 1 corner is Chester Awuzie. Come on.
No, he's a solid second corner, but
he's a second corner, but not number 1.
And their number 2 is Trayvon Diggs, who was getting smoked by everyone on LSU last year, especially Jamar Chase. And by the way,
but Jamar Chase he's a top 5 pick next year. You're not gonna give him gotta cut him some slack, bro.
Okay, but he was getting smoked that game. That game was hilarious. By the way, guys, I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence is the most overrated and overpaid pass rusher in the league, guys. He's horrible, bro. He just got his money and his production just was gone. It was gone. even with the line backcourt, it's very injury prone. Like, I feel like
Sean Lee,
Leighton
Vander Esch
is one of the best young linebackers in the NFL, but he's always hurt for some reason. Like, already into his career, he's always hurt. Jalen Smith has injury past, and we all know Sean Lee is a walking hospital man or whatever. Yeah, that's about it. Alright, so now on to the NFC North, which I have a surprise finishing first in the division will be the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears will finish number 1 in the division, and they will host a home playoff game next year. First of all, they went 8-8 last year, which was horrible. When Mitchell Trubisky was trash last year, I think he was ranked like the 35th quarterback last year. Like, backups were rated higher than him last year, and now they have Nick Foles, which will bring some stability, and they will be playing a third place schedule in the NFC. And they added Robert Quinn on the other side of Khalil Mack, so that defenses should be even better. I know they lost they cut Amukamara, but I don't see that as a big concern, especially when that pass rush will be that dominant. I think David Montgomery will have a breakout year. It's going to be a run-heavy offense, and Matt Nagy is one of the best offensive minds in the league, coming from that Andy Reid coaching tree, and I think they're going to shock some people, man. I think they're going to finish number 1 in the division, especially with some of the regressions with the other teams in the division.
See, I don't think the Bears will be in that situation because I'm not as high on David Montgomery. Yes, their defense is elite with Robert Quinn, Roquan Smith, and Khalil Mack. Cornerback Kyle Fuller. But I mean, I think Allen Robinson might get Allen Robinson might get traded mid-season, so you lose your top receiver. Nick Foles is decent. Yeah, I think Allen Robinson gets traded. I think the Ravens make a move for Allen Robinson mid-season to get a number 1 receiver.
You can't make a hypothetical like that, bro. What?
Okay, I think he gets traded mid-season, so you lose major production in your pass game. Nick Foles, I don't think David Montgomery's solid, but he's not gonna have as big of a lead. I don't see the Bears making a playoffs. I have the Vikings winning the division at what I have them at. I got the Vikings at 11-5. I think Stephon Diggs is a big loss, but they tried to replace it with Justin Jefferson, so I like that pick. I mean, they're still solid on defense up front. They have pretty good linebackers. They have a really good safety in Harrison Smith. I think Kirk Cousins will keep his production. He doesn't turn the ball over much. It depends on the day if he's clutch or not. Sometimes he is, sometimes he isn't, but I see them winning the division at 11-5.
I have them at 9-7, and the reason why I don't have them winning the division is because they lost a lot of starters on their defense because they had to pay Cousins this year. I mean,
but they picked up Michael Pierce.
No, but they lost Everson Griffin. They lost pretty much all their top corners, besides Mike Hughes. They lost.
Xavier Rhodes is trash, and so is Trey Waynes. No, Xavier Rhodes is decent. Trey Waynes is garbage.
But they're starting caliber anyway. They also lost Linval Joseph, who's their leading defensive tackle and their run stuffer. So that's a lot of losses on defense. And
they replaced that with Michael Pierce. Michael Pierce is a big guy up front. They gave him 4 years.
Yeah, but still, there's still a lot of starters they lost besides only replacing at tackle. And they also lost Mike Stefanski, their offensive coordinator, and the guy who basically ran the offense. They were going to have a bunch of questions on offense, even though it's still going to be a run-heavy offense with Dalvin Cook. But we also know that Dalvin Cook is very injury-prone, so I just have a lot of questions, and I can't have them finishing over the Bears.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph. You bring in Justin Jefferson, so you can run him out of the slot instead of running Thielen out of the slot primarily. And you still have Dalvin Cook running the ball. I mean, I see a lot of positives on offense, and they still have a somewhat decent defense. They did lose some pieces, but their corners weren't all that. So I see them winning the division again this year instead of the Packers. The Packers are garbage.
Another big question that we left out is why we don't have the Packers in the playoffs this year. And my reasoning is I thought last year was a little bit of a fluke year, and they did lose a lot of players. Like they lost their leading tackler in Blake Blake Martinez. They lost their right tackle in Brian Bulaga. And I do think Rodgers is going to be a little salty that they drafted a quarterback. And my bold prediction is he's going to want out in the next 1 or 2 years.
See, the Packers were the fakest 13-3 last year I've ever seen. That was a 10-6 or 9-17, 9-17, walking around as 13-3. They lost Beluga, they lost Martinez. They drafted another running back, even though they say Aaron Jones is the running back of the future. You didn't draft a single receiver. You got a bunch of offensive linemen. You didn't get any help for Rodgers. The only person Rodgers throws to on the team is Devontae Adams. The only person he'd ever throw to besides that is Jordy Nelson. He's retired. The defense is still questionable. They're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, facts. Also, watch out for Detroit. I think Detroit's actually going to be solid this year.
Nah.
Dude, their offense.
Patricia gets fired by the middle of the year. Patricia gets fired by the middle of the year.
They're going to have a top 10 offense this year, dude. With Matthew Stafford coming back, you got 2 good running backs, you got 2 good receivers, you got a tight end with high upside. I think the offense is going to be really good in Detroit. I don't know about the defense, but I at least think the offense is going to be really good. And the
offense will be good, but Patricia still gets fired by the middle of the year.
I don't think middle of the year, but he'll get definitely fired by the end of the year.
He's the one coach that gets fired in the middle of the year.
All right, now on to the NFC West. I actually have 3 teams from this division making the playoffs.
Ooh. You got the Rams?
No.
Oh my! You're that high on the Cardinals?
You'll see. I'll give you a reason why. Okay, let's start with who I got winning the division. At 12-4, I got the Seahawks winning the division, and
ooh.
I want to give eventually we'll have like a almost like an edit video. Maybe later down the line we'll make a podcast where we like edit our rankings a little, like maybe like right before the season. But the reason why I have the Seahawks at 12-4, they addressed all their needs, but I need to have like confirmation that Quinn Dunbar is actually going to play because they had a need at corner and he fills that role perfectly. But with the whatever thing he was going on, robbery thing or whatever that was, I want the subject to change. And look, they added a bunch of players like Greg Olsen, who will be another weapon.
He's Russell a walking Wilson. Injury though. He's walking injury though.
They also have Will Disley, who's actually pretty solid.
No, he's solid.
And they might lose Clowney, but he's highly overrated. What do you have? Like 3.5 sacks?
He wasn't doing anything last year.
Yeah, and I do see some fallback from the Niners this year, even though I have them at 11-5 and finishing second in the division. The reason why is they lost DeForest Buckner, even though they replaced
him with Kinlaw.
Yeah, but you got to realize that I don't know why they should have kept Buckner over Armstead. That was a questionable decision in my mind. Like Buckner to me is like a top 3 to 5-ish tackle in the NFL, and they kept Armstead, who had like a kind of like an overrated year last year because of the other 2 that were on the D line. Like that was a little questionable to me.
I don't know. I mean, any other year besides this year with all the quarterbacks, Kinlaw's a top 5 pick in my opinion with what he did at South Carolina. So I don't see them trading DeForest Buckner as that big of a loss because they replaced him with Kinlaw. I have the Niners at 12-4 and the Seahawks at 10-6. So I have the Seahawks at the first wild card and the Niners as my 1 seed. I think the Niners kept a lot of pieces even though they lost Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, they'd pick up Ayuk out of Arizona State to replace that need. They still have Kittle. They'll re-sign him. They still got pornstar Jimmy at quarterback, and I think he's the top 10 quarterback in the league.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
They still have their 3-headed monster at running back with Breida, Coleman, and Mostert. They still have Samuel.
They lost Breida.
Oh, yeah, because they traded Breida for Trent Williams, or they got Trent Williams.
No, Breida went to Miami.
Yeah, but then they picked up Trent Williams in the draft to shore up the offensive line because Joe Staley retired. So, I mean, I see him getting better on offense.
Yeah, I know. I agree the Niners are still probably going to be title contenders. But I just have them finishing 1 game behind the Seahawks and being the number 1 wild card in the NFC. And then now to my 7th seed, the surprise of the NFC West. Or the whole NFC, actually, the Cardinals. They're going to make the playoffs. Look, the only slight issue is the O-line, but they did steal Josh Jones in the 3rd round when he was a 1st-round talent in most people's boards.
And they got Isaiah Simmons at 7.
Yeah, and of course, the big acquisition, D-Hop, a number 1 receiver. Now the offense is going to be one of the deadliest offenses in the league. And people might think their defense can be horrible. I actually think it's going to be a really good defense next year. They got a bunch of talent. They got Buda Baker, Pat Pete, Isaiah Simmons, Chandler Jones.
Front seven.
They got Chandler Jones, and they added Phillips from Buffalo, who had 10 sacks last year.
Jordan Phillips,
yeah.
I mean,
they overpaid a little, but it's a good pickup.
I mean, their secondary is really good with Pat Pete and Buda Baker, and then you can throw Isaiah Simmons pretty much anywhere. You can play him at safety, linebacker. So they have Isaiah Simmons at linebacker. You say Josh Jones, they picked him up. I mean, besides Chandler Jones, I don't really see too many other people in the pass rush for him. So they have a good secondary, but in my opinion, teams can run all over them, and especially in that division with two out of the other three teams being run-heavy teams. I mean, that doesn't look good for them.
Yeah, but they can score. They can score with any team in the league, though. So I don't think the defense is actually going to be an issue because they just have to be good enough to keep up with the offense, in my opinion.
I think Kyler needs one more year.
I think it's the year. He had a really solid rookie campaign, and I think now with D-Hop, it's just going to open everything up for him.
Because I know he's got D-Hop and Christian Kirk and Kenyon Drake in the backfield, but I mean, I still think he needs one more year to fully develop. So like you say about the Panthers, I see them having promise this year and being that team next year.
Yeah, but the Cardinals have players, man. They have players on both sides of the ball. They got all sorts of players.
A lot of people say the Cardinals would be that team, but I don't think so.
And the one issue, like, especially with the Niners, like, the issue they had with the Niners was covering George Kittle, which was, like, their main issue against the Niners last year. Isaiah Simmons perfectly fits into that role. That was honestly, like, I didn't even think about that before the draft, but that's a beautiful fit, considering Kittle's going to be in the division for the next decade. So is Isaiah Simmons, so they have the perfect guy to cover him for the next decade. I think they're going to be a 9-7 and sneak into the playoffs.
My surprise team is the Panthers. I have the Panthers coming out the South instead, but I mean, I can understand why you have the Cardinals at 7.
All right, now we'll start with the playoffs, and you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll start it off. So I have the 2-7 game, which is the Saints and Panthers divisional game.
Go over your standings first.
Okay, at the 1 seed, I got the Niners at 12-4. At 2, I got the Saints at 11-5. Vikings at 11-5 at 3, and the Eagles at 10-6. And then I got Seattle at 10-6, the Bucks at 9-7 at 6, and then the Panthers at 9-7 at 7. So then the 2-7 game, divisional game, I have the Saints and Panthers. I have the Saints moving on. They get a nice warm-up game in the playoffs against the Panthers. So I see them moving on, even though they're normally not clutch in the playoffs. Vikings Bucks. This is probably the best first round matchup in my opinion. Better than Eagles Seahawks. We saw that last year. But I think the Vikings come out of this game with home field advantage. I think the Bucks need one more year to be considered real legit Super Bowl contenders. So I have the Vikings moving on. Eagles Seahawks 4-5. I see the Seahawks winning that game. Like last year, Seahawks have a better overall team. So I have the Seahawks moving on. So second round, I have the Niners playing the Seahawks. Another divisional game. I think the Niners get the nod because it's home field. So I have the Niners moving on. The Saints end up playing the Vikings. And the Saints move on, even though the Saints always have trouble with the Vikings. I think this is the time they finally beat them, even though they lose to them in the regular season, Week 16 on Christmas. So for the NFC Championship, I have the Saints playing the Niners, a rematch of arguably the best game last year in the regular season. And I say this is finally the Saints' year to make it to the Super Bowl. I have the Saints coming out of the NFC, making the Super Bowl.
Hell no, bro. Alright, so at the number 1 seed, I have the Seattle Seahawks. At number 2, I got the Chicago Bears. At number 3, I got the New Orleans Saints. At the number 4, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. At the number 5, I got the Niners. At the number 6, I got the Bucks. And at number 7, I got the Eagles. So in the first round between the 2-7, I got the Bears over the Cardinals advancing. And at the 3-6 game, I actually got an upset with the Buccaneers beating the Saints because the Saints choke as always, as is. 4 years in a row will choke once again. Book it. Buccaneers over the Saints, and the crybaby Saints fan will go home, and Breeze is gonna retire after the season, and it's gonna be the Taysom Hill era after this year.
Oh, the Jameis era, baby, the Jameis era.
Hell
They're
no,
grooming
Jameis
him
is
for a
done.
year. They're grooming Jameis for a year.
Hell no, James.
That's
done,
my theory.
man.
Taysom Hill's just a gadget. They're grooming Jameis this year.
They're gonna draft a quarterback next year, and they're gonna have Taysom be like the transition quarterback.
Nope.
At least in my opinion. And in the 4-5 game, Eagles-Niners, I got the Niners in the upset in Philly. Alright, so round 2, I got the Seahawks over the Buccaneers. I just don't think the Buccaneers have enough defensively to stop Russell Wilson. And then I got
Shaq Barrett.
That's one guy, dude. That's one guy.
I guess.
And I think he's gonna degress a little this year. I think last year he just had a really hot start, and I don't think you'll see what he had. Near 20 sacks? Did he have 20 sacks?
Yeah, he had like 18 sacks last year.
Yeah, crazy. I don't think he'll have that type of production next year.
No.
And in the 2-5 game, Bears-Niners, I got the Niners. So in the conference finals, we have battle of the two powerhouses in the NFC West, and I got the Niners returning back to the Super Bowl this year, getting revenge over the Seahawks. I know it's tough for a team to go to back-to-back Super Bowls, but I just don't see any team with a roster as loaded as the Niners. And the reason why I just have the Niners having a lower record than the Seahawks is because I saw the Niners schedule was a little harder, and I do believe there'll be a little bit of a Super Bowl slump to begin the season.
Yeah.
But I still think the Niners are the best team in the NFC, and they will make it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Niners making the divisional championship game, so I mean, I can't really argue with that. I mean, I think this is finally the Saints' year to silence everyone. It's Drew Brees' final year. He's going to retire after this year. I agree with that. I think this is his last shot. He's going to tell the team, it's my last year, boys. Let's get it done. But I think they make it to the Super Bowl.
No chance. Absolutely no chance. Alright, so now on to the AFC, and we will start off with a highly controversial division, the AFC North, which I have the Ravens winning the division.
Yes, sir.
Barely.
Yes, sir.
Barely.
No, barely. No, barely.
Barely. I have them at 12-4.
That's what I got them. I got them at 12-4.
Yeah, they really upgraded their front seven with Campbell and Patrick Queen, which should help the run defense. But I do have the Pittsburgh Steelers finishing one game behind them at 11-5. Again, they're going to be a top 3 defense, and they went 8-8 with Duck Hodges, bro. Duck Hodges. Big Ben is going to come back and at least be a top half quarterback. And I think even though we lost Javon Hargrave on our defense, Tuitt will come back healthy because he missed like 10 games last year, I think. I don't think we'll see the Steelers offense from 2016 to 2018, but I do think we'll still see probably a near top 10 top 10 offense because they still got receivers. Deontay Johnson is going to be he's going to be one of the surprises this year. I think he can emerge as a number 1 receiver maybe since Juju's moving back. Juju's moving back into the slot. He's going to be the X receiver. You got Claypool on the other side. I think the offense is going to be solid. I think it's going to be near that 10 range and finishing second in the division, getting the highest wild card.
All right, for me, I have the Ravens at 12-4. The 4 games they lose at Philly, at Indy, they lose at Pittsburgh on Thanksgiving, and they lose in Cleveland. Those are the 4 games they lose. They still win the division at 12-4.
I almost had the same ones. I literally almost had the same ones.
This year is our year on Monday Night Football to finally beat the Chiefs. Lamar's 3rd time playing them. They've beaten him the first time he played him his rookie year, he lost in overtime by a field goal. Last year he lost by 5. First 2 times he's played him, he's lost by a touchdown combined. This year at home Monday night, they finally get the dub against the Chiefs. Greatest game of the year. They go 12-4. Now for me, the number 2 team coming out of the North, the Cleveland Browns.
Imagine believing in the Browns.
They finally get it done. They upgrade on the line.
Hilarious.
They pick up Jedrick Wills in the draft, shore up one of their tackle positions. They go out, even though they didn't need him, go out and get a top 7 tight end in Austin Hooper, even though they still have David.
Overpaid. They overpaid.
They might have overpaid, but he's still a top 7 tight end in the league. They still have all their weapons at receiver with Odell and Jarvis. I think Jarvis is better than Odell. I think Odell's way overrated. Like I said earlier, Odell wouldn't need.
Jarvis ain't better than Odell.
Odell
You think Jarvis
top 10 receiver for me in the league? So
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
On defense, they're getting Myles Garrett back. They're getting the helmet swinger back. They pick up. They lost Joe Scobert, so that's okay. They still have Denzel Ward in the secondary,
who can't tackle.
I have them at 10-6 as the second wild card.
See, I'm on the complete opposite end. I have them 6-10, finishing one game above the Bengals, and I don't believe in the Browns. It's the Browns. You got a lot of egos in Baker, OBJ, Garrett, Landry, all these head cases on that team, and I just don't believe in Baker. I think they're going to draft a new QB next year. I think it's the last year of Baker. As crazy as that sounds, I don't think Baker's that guy. I think he's a lot more talk than actual production. And the Browns actually have kind of a tough schedule this year. Not the teams they're playing, but like the teams they have to face like back to back, like the actual like splits, you know?
Yeah, but, I mean they go to Dallas, at home at Indy, and then go back to Pittsburgh in 3 weeks. That's tough. And then you're at home against the Texans and Philly after the bye. I mean, those are 2 more tough games.
Yeah, and I do think Keenum will come in at the end of the season.
Yeah, okay, so I think Baker gets to play the first 4 games, or let's just say up to the bye week. So he plays the first 8 weeks. And then I think they have Keenum come in sporadically just to see what happens. They see the offense flourish because Stefanski has coached Keenum before.
Yeah, that's a big reason, yeah.
So they bring it, they sit Baker after the bye week and let Keenum go on a run like the one run he had with the Vikings with the year of the Minneapolis Miracle, and Keenum takes the Browns to the playoffs at 10-6.
Hell no. I have Keenum in, but it's not going to be a similar situation. They're going to be dropping a lot of games, and they're going to be somewhere in the region of like 4-8-ish. They're going to put Keenum in because Baker's playing trash, and I don't understand your theory because if Baker's like sort of winning games, why would they replace him with Keenum? Like if they're like 500,
such a head case, and I think Baker has a possibility of getting hurt, and it's kind of the situation of Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson, where Joe got hurt, Lamar comes in, he wins 2 games, and the team has momentum, so they can't take him out, so they leave him in and have Baker ride the pine.
Well, I kind of disagree because Lamar, even though he wasn't a great thrower, he had like some sort of electricity, some sort of juice to the team, which got the team all motivated. I don't think Keenum's that guy. Like he's gonna be solid or whatever, but he doesn't bring any juice, you know?
Keenum doesn't bring juice like Lamar does, but Keenum's a lot more stable at the quarterback position. You have a competent quarterback who's not going to talk to the media after every game and make ridiculous comments. He's not going to throw as near many picks as Baker will. I mean, I just see a lot more production when they give Keenum the job and Stefanski realizes I can make another run at the Minneapolis Miracle and make the playoffs.
Nah, no chance. I think they're going to be battling with the Bengals for the worst team in the division, man.
No.
Don't get me wrong, it's a loaded roster, but it's a lot of controversy. And let's be honest. If Baker doesn't put up numbers, his career, like, as a starter is going to be over. This weapons he has 2 of everything. 2 elite running backs.
2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 tight ends. He's got everything.
He has everything. So if they don't have any sort of success, he's going to be gone, which is why I have him gone, because I'm not anticipating any sort of success, because I think it's going to be a Nick Chubb offense throughout the whole year, to be honest, because I don't think Baker can lead this team.
I disagree.
All right, now on to probably the boringest division ever, the AFC South, which is usually like the most competitive division, but usually due to everyone being mediocre, which is...
Yep, everyone's mediocre. Three mediocre teams and then the Jags.
I actually don't think the Jags are as bad as people think. Because I think Minshew's like a Romo type. Like, I feel like he brings like some sort of...
They're getting a quarterback next year. They're just playing Minshew for this year.
Yeah, but I think he brings... He's like almost like a... I think he's like a Fitzpatrick that throws less interceptions. Like, he can win some games. That's why I don't have him as horrible. Like, I have him at 5-10, which is... I think
5-11?
5-11 I meant. I think most people have him at like 2-14. Like, they're not... They still have players. They got players.
I could see them going 4-12. I think Minshew will be kind of like the Fitzpatrick or McCown of the league, where he's a journeyman backup. He'll stay in the league, but as a backup. I think this is just a transitional year for the Jags. They got a lot of good pieces on offense and defense with the receiver out of Colorado and getting Chase on and the corner out of Florida, C.J. Henderson this year. So I mean, they're trying to reload their defense, even though they will trade Ngakoue. They're hitting the rebuild button, and I mean, I think they go out next year. I think they possibly trade up for another top 5 pick and get Jamar Chase too with the quarterback.
I don't know about that. I don't think they can do that. That's a lot of investment. That's a big investment. But anyways, who I have winning the AFC, I have 2 playoff teams in the AFC South, and winning the division at 10-6, I have the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I got the Colts too.
I think Philip is gonna bounce back. Last year with the Chargers, he had one of the worst O-lines in the league, and for someone who's not mobile and who's a total statue in the pocket, you need a great O-line, and luckily he has the best O-line in the league now. So I think Philip will have a bounce back year, and the Colts are going to have also a bit of a run heavy offense with Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines in that backfield. And I think that's a perfect fit. I think Naheem Hines will play that Austin Eckler role from last year. Not as much running, but I think he'll be that receiving threat. And the Colts are just loaded. They pick up Forrest Buckner on that defense along with Darius Leonard, and they got Malik Hooker in the back end. This team's loaded, and I have them finishing 1 game ahead of the Texans, who I have as my wild card.
See, I have the Colts at 10-6 too, but I think the Texans drop off a lot because of what Bill O'Brien's done with trading DeAndre Hopkins and other moves that he has made or hasn't made hinder the team. So I do still have the Colts at 10-6. Phillip has weapons in Jack Doyle and T.Y. Hilton. Zach Pascal is a very underrated receiver. They draft Michael Pittman, who's a
underdraft.
Zach Pascal was actually really solid for him last year too. I think he could be a solid wide receiver 3. You still have the running backs with Marlon Mack, Jonathan Taylor, and Naheem Hines. He has arguably the best O-line in the league. Their defense is solid. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's right in the middle with the Forrest Buckner, Darius Leonard, Malik Hooker, and I have them going 10-6. Winning the South.
Yeah, and don't forget, they also have Paris Campbell, who's injured most of last year, who's going to be their speed guy down the field. He's going to spread the offense out. And I actually have the Texans sneaking in the playoffs as my last wild card at 9-7. I think Watson's like one of those guys who can just carry a team like that. So like, remember like Russell Wilson and the Seahawks like a couple of years ago, like how that sorry team made the playoffs. Like I think Watson is capable of that. And although they did lose D-Hop, they did get some players, like some weapons for D-Hop. I mean, for Deshaun. Like, Cooks ain't bad. Randall Cobb's not that bad. And David Johnson, I think, will have a resurgence here. I think he'll emerge as probably like a top half running back in the league. And I think they'll sneak in.
The receivers are very injury prone, though. Brandon Cooks has many concussions. He's injury prone. Will Fuller is always a question mark whether he can play week to week. I think David Johnson will have somewhat of a resurgence, but nowhere near what he used to be. He didn't get used much last year, but I think he will be better. They lose Carlos Hyde. Their offensive line is always questionable, even though they got Laramie Tunsil last year. Kenny Stills is a wide receiver 3. They lost a big it factor with DeAndre Hopkins, and I mean, their receivers are always questionable. Their defense isn't all that. Their secondary is pretty bad. J.J. Watt's always hurt now. Merciless is solid, but I mean, they don't have too much.
No, but I think Watson's that guy. I'm high on Watson.
Watson is that guy. I mean, he is a top 5 QB in the league, but I mean, whether your receivers can play week to week really affects what a quarterback can do.
And another thing I think we should speak on is we both actually have the Titans falling out of the playoffs. I have the Titans at 8-8, so like an average year, but
yeah, the Titans are always at 8-8. They're one of the most consistent teams to be 8-8 every year.
Outside the Cowboys, but they did lose some players. Like they lost Jarrell Casey, like a 7th rounder for Jarrell Casey. Like what? And they also lost Conklin. They also lost Conklin because they had to overpay for Tannehill. Like what is he getting? 29.5
bag.
I think it's like 29.5 every year, which is a bit of overpay. I still think Tannehill will probably be like a top 20-ish quarterback maybe, but I don't see him having a year like last year. Henry is still going to be carrying them to 8 wins, but no playoffs.
I mean, Tannehill will be around that 15 to 18 quarterback in the league. I don't know why you give a 15 to 18 quarterback in the league that much money. Derrick Henry is an unstoppable force. He's an animal. A.J. Brown, I'm really high on A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I like him.
I think he'll have another great year. I mean, they get Delaney Walker back, but I mean, you lose Jarrell Casey. Secondary was your focal point, and they lost a big part of their pass rush. So I mean, I have them at 8-8 like always. I mean, last year they were 9-7. I mean, they're either 9-7 or 8-8 every year.
Yeah, I mean, they're barely missing the playoffs for me, so it's not like they're totally falling off.
Yeah.
All right, so now on to the worst division in the NFL, the
AFC East. AFC East.
They're horrible, and I have a complete shock. I have a complete shock in winning the division.
Don't tell me you got the Dolphins making the playoffs.
The Dolphins are winning the division at 8-8. They're winning the division at 8-8.
Oh my God.
The reason why I have two. I think Tua is going to start week 1.
I agree with that. I think Tua starts off the bat.
Dude, you got to realize most people said they had the worst roster in the league last year. People were wondering, is this going to be a 0-16 team? But they won the 5 out of their last 8, including a huge win against the Eagles. And they even beat the Patriots last year to not give them the number 1 overall seed. Also, one of the reasons why I have them at 8-8 is because the rest of the division is really average. I have like the Bills falling 1 game behind at 7-9. I have the Patriots going like 6-10. I just don't think the rest of the division is that good, and I think the Dolphins have the juice. All the other teams I have major questions about, and I think it's a bit of a surprise, it's a bit of a risky pick, but I think Dolphins, they're extremely well coached, and they just look at all the talent they brought in this year.
Yeah, they had a great free agency, but I mean, I say they need 2 more years to be a playoff team. They need Brian Flores went out and got a bunch of ex-Patriots guy because he is an ex-Patriots guy. They get Kyle Van Noy. They get Byron Jones in the secondary. You pick up Jordan Howard. You get Matt Breida. They had a good offseason and they made some nice draft picks. They got draft picks to shore up their O-line. But I mean, no, that's stupid.
Dude, what other team can win the division? I don't see any other team that can.
The Bills are going 11-5.
The Bills can't score, bruh.
The Bills are going to be the 3 seed in the AFC.
Hell no, dude. I haven't gone 7-9.
Just listen to me. The Bills. Josh Allen. You know how high I am on Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is a top 10 quarterback in the league. They give him another weapon. They give him Stephon Diggs. Great move by the organization to go out and get Stephon Diggs.
Receiver.
To pair him alongside Cole Beasley and John Brown and Dalton Knox, who's a very underrated tight end. Dawson Knox, very underrated tight end.
Kevin Knox?
Dawson Knox. No. Josh Allen, dark horse MVP pick next year.
Hell no. He can't even throw a football.
He is a lesser version of Lamar who could have a breakout year next year.
That's blasphemy.
11-5. The 5 games that they lose. They lose at Tennessee. They beat the Chiefs at home. I have them beat the Chiefs at home on a Thursday night.
Dude, they can't score. Yes,
they will. They will be able to score this year with Devin Singletary, Stephon Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley.
Devin Singletary won't even be their number 1 running back. He's not even going to be their number. Zach Moss is going to be their number 1 back.
So they lose to the Titans. They lose to Seattle. They lose to the Chargers, the Niners, and the Broncos. They go 11.
You having them
5.
sweeping the division?
Yes, the division is
What?
bad.
Dude, I have them going 3-3 in the division max.
Bro.
What?
The Bills. Their secondary is elite. Their defense is a top 5 defense.
Top 10 defense.
I
But they can't score. They can't.
I think they will be able to score this year.
They had a lot of fluke wins last year.
They won't be a shootout team, but they'll be able to score around 24 to 30 points a game.
They were hovering around like 12 last year, dude. They were hovering around 12. They're not scoring. Hell no. They're averaging around 15 points this year.
No.
I looked at their schedule last year. They had one good win last year. Which was they blew up the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They had only one good win. And
they should have beat the Texans. They should have beat the Texans in the playoffs last year too. They choked that game.
But they didn't. They had a fluke record in my opinion last year. Josh Allen.
No.
I don't think he's that good, dude. He puts up, he's a good fantasy quarterback, but I don't think he's a good quarterback.
Josh Allen, dark horse MVP.
I don't think he's gonna even be a top 20 to 23 quarterback this year.
He will be a top 10 quarterback and the third best fantasy quarterback in the league next year.
No chance. Absolutely not. A guy who can't even throw. He has that arm, but he has a big arm, but wildly inaccurate. He runs the ball too much, especially considering that coming out of the draft, he was supposed to be a big arm guy, like a gunslinger, even though he doesn't even throw the ball deep that much. Like, he's just weird.
The Bills.
No
I'm telling you, bro, the Bills.
Absolutely not. Dolphins winning the division.
Bills.
Dolphins winning that division, dude.
No.
Alright, whatever. Alright, now on to our last division, the AFC West, which we should all have the same winner of the division, which are, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, which I have at 13-3.
I'm at 12-4.
They have the best offense in the league, and the offense is just going to be even better. The rich get richer. They get Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which is a perfect fit for their offense. It's going to be their Brian Westbrook, and I see a big jump in Mecole Hardman, who was an All-Pro special teams player this year. I think he can be like an 800-yard guy this year, and
I think Sammy Watkins steps up this year too.
I don't think so. I think Hardman emerges as the number 2 receiver. I mean, he's going to be the third option, obviously, because of Travis Kelce, but I think Hardman actually emerges past Sammy Watkins, and that offense just becomes even more explosive.
No, I mean, I can understand that, but I mean, I think Sammy Watkins does reappear a little more next year, and I still see him as the third option. You really essentially have 2 number 3 options in Hardman and Watkins, 2 speed guys, and then you have the ultimate speed guy, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. You still have Damian Williams. You get Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the draft. Their offense is the best in the league at what they can do. They can hit you either way in the run or the pass. Their defense is okay, but you don't necessarily need a great defense with that type of team.
Yeah, no, the defense was really solid in the second half of the season last year, though. They were like one of the top defenses in the second half of the season.
Honey Badger reemerged.
They held Derrick Henry under 100 yards, which seemed impossible in the playoffs last year, especially on the run Derrick Henry went on in the playoffs. Anyways, I actually have a second playoff team, and being the second highest wild card, number 6 seed, which for me is the Oakland Raiders. This might be a little of an emotional pick because I'm a big John Gruden fan, because I just loved him on Monday Night Football, but I think Derek Carr is going to emerge as like maybe even a top 12 to 15.
Yeah, I don't know why people hate on Derek Carr. Derek Carr is a really good quarterback.
I think he's going to actually be really good this year because he's going to have weapons all over the field. They have Josh Jacobs, who's going to be their leading rusher out of the backfield. He's going to be carrying them. I think he's going to be probably around 1,200, 300 yards this year. They picked up Henry Ruggs, which will stretch the field out. They have Darren Waller there, Tyrell Williams, They picked up that dude, the dude,
Lynn Bowden.
Lynn Bowden.
Great pick.
Yeah.
Lynn Bowden.
I think
Lynn Bowden's a Taysom Hill type. He can do anything and everything. I love that Lynn Bowden pick.
Yeah. I think he's going to be a big part of their offense, and I even think the defense might be solid this year. I think Cleveland Farrell will emerge big. I think he'll have a double-digit sack season, even though they did reach a little on Damon Arnett. They did address the corner. I mean, he's going to be the second cornerback. Again, this is kind of an emotional pick, but I do have the Raiders finishing second in the division and game.
I mean, I have the Raiders at around like a 7-9 team, and I mean, I still have them as they're the best fourth seed in their division by far. And I mean, like you said, they have weapons all over the field. I mean, you didn't even mention Hunter Renfrow out of the slot, great slot receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, their defense was questionable, but I mean, I have them at like a 7-9, 8-8 team. So I mean, I can't really hate on it, but for me, I have the Chargers as the top wild card. I think they give Tyrod Taylor a few games, and then they throw Justin Herbert in. And Justin Herbert, who you don't like, I like Justin Herbert.
He needs some time,
I know
man.
why people bash him. I think Justin Herbert comes in, takes over the squad, and, you know, takes them to the playoffs, and they go 9-7. And I think they go out. And then as the 7th seed, I have the Broncos also going 9-7 with look at the offseason they had. Now they get Jarrell Casey for a 7th round pick, AJ Bouye for a 4th round pick. You go out and get Melvin Gordon, even though you didn't need a running back, you still have Philip Lindsay. You load up on receiver in the draft. You get KJ Hamler, who's very underrated, great speed guy. You get arguably the best receiver in the draft, even though I think CeeDee Lamb's the best receiver in the draft. You get the second best receiver in the draft in Jerry Jeudy.
No.
Still have Noah Fant. You have Cortland Sutton. I think Drew Lock will have a breakout year. I mean, look at what he did in the second half of the year last year. Drew Lock has no excuses now. He has all the weapons he needs. He's got 3 receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. Still have a great defense. Vic Fangio, a defensive-minded coach. I have them sneaking into the playoffs. And that one team that wasn't good last year, they make the playoffs.
Regarding the Chargers, I have the Chargers finish at 7-9. They have one of the best rosters, but they always underachieve every year. Every year they underachieve. Besides 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't believe in Tyrod. I don't think Justin Herbert's ready to start. I think he'll come in 2021, but I don't think he's ready. The offense is going to be limited with Tyrod Taylor because he hasn't played in over a year and a half, and like they have all these weapons, but I don't think they'll be utilized because Tyrod doesn't throw the ball down the field. And when you're going to have a heavy run team, which I think they'll be with Tyrod Taylor, I don't trust Justin Jackson and Kelly. I don't trust those two because Austin Eckler is not a workhorse running back. He's more of a scat back, sort of like a Darren Sproles type, which is still really good, but he's not that workhorse back that can carry you to the team. And regarding the Broncos, I'm on the total opposite end as Cody. I have them finishing last in the division at 5-11. I don't believe in Drew Lock. First of all, usually with young quarterbacks, you want a really good offensive mind as your head coach. And with Vic Fangio, I have questions regarding the defense. The defense is getting older. I don't think Simmons is going to have another All-Pro year like last year. I think it was sort of a one-year wonder type of thing.
They get back Bradley Roby though, or Bradley Chubb.
Coming off an ACL, I don't know how he's going to recover over that. And regarding all the weapons they have, yeah, they have a bunch of weapons, but they're all unproven. And I didn't like that Melvin Gordon signing. Melvin Gordon isn't even a better runner than Philip Lindsay. Lindsay's a better running back than Melvin Gordon. Yeah, Gordon can catch balls out of the backfield, but I think you would have gotten a better guy. It was a bit of an overpay, especially with Lindsay and Freeman there, and I just don't see the offense even scoring like more than 10 points a game. I'm not believing in the hype that everyone's saying that the Broncos are the dark horse team. I'm not a believer. All right, so now into the rankings. All right, so you want to start this off again?
I'll start it off. Now, you may say this is biased, but I have them having the same record. I have the Ravens at 1 and the Chiefs at 2, just based off the Ravens having the head-to-head win, so they get the 1 seed. I have the Bills at 3, the Colts at 4, and then the Chargers at 5, Browns at 6, and Broncos at 7. So we have the Chiefs playing the Broncos. Chiefs and Arrowhead, tough to beat. Chiefs get that dub. Bills play the Browns in Buffalo. Not too many teams go to Buffalo and win. Bills take that win. Chargers play the Colts in Indy. Think this is a revenge game for Phillips. Phillips moves on. The Colts move on. Round 2, the Ravens play the Colts. This matchup happened earlier in the year in Indy. I have the Ravens losing that game. They get their revenge at home at M&T Bank. Lamar gets his first playoff win. They beat the Colts. They move on to the AFC Championship. Bills, Chiefs. I have the Bills losing, even though they won in the middle of the year because they were at home. They go to Arrowhead, even though it's a similar weather environment. The atmosphere at Arrowhead is unparalleled, even because I think at that point there will be a majority of fans in the stands at games. So I have what was supposed to be the AFC Championship last year, which is the Ravens-Chiefs. Monday night matchup of week 3, done again. At home again. Lamar Jackson, finally his year.
Hell no.
Gets another win in the playoffs. Takes the Ravens to the Super Bowl to play the Saints. And the Ravens win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson MVP. And in the middle of the year, the Ravens make the move. They trade a few picks to get Allen Robinson. Give Lamar Jackson another weapon. Lamar will have Allen Robinson, Mark Andrews, Miles Boykin, Hollywood Brown, Mark Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins.
So they're going to get another weapon he won't throw to. Another weapon that he can't throw far enough to throw to.
He's working on the deep ball. He's been working on the deep ball this offseason. The defense, no one is throwing on our secondary.
Steelers are a better secondary.
Just stop.
Dude, we have, if you look at our cornerback tandem, those top 5 in the league last year with Nelson and Hayden, and we have the best safety in the league, Minka Fitzpatrick.
Don't be saying he's the best safety. He's a top 5 but not the best safety.
The Steelers went from a below average defense 4, and once we got him, we literally became a top 3 defense in the NFL. Literally. Like,
the Ravens secondary, you have Marlon Humphrey, you have 2 shutdown corners in Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. And then you have
Peters is overrated.
Even if he is, you still have Jimmy Smith to throw in there. And then covering on the backside, you have Earl Thomas,
who's getting pretty old. But anyways, after that total biased predictions over there, you're gonna hear the truth from me. This is gonna happen again. Even though this is gonna sound totally ridiculous, what I'm about to say, it's gonna happen again. So at the 1, I have the Chiefs obviously finishing at 13-3. Ravens ain't finishing number 1. Book it. Alright, unless if Mahomes gets hurt, obviously. Okay, Ravens at the 2, Colts at the 3, Dolphins at the 4, Steelers at the 5, Raiders at the 6, Texans at the 7. So Ravens, Lamar finally gets a playoff win against the Texans. The only reason why he gets a win is because it's the Texans. It's Bill O'Brien. That's all I gotta say. Bill O'Brien's gone after this year. Don't know why you're a GM. You're literally the Tom Thibodeau of the NFL, okay? or Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy, actually.
Stan Van Gundy.
Both fat dudes who somehow get a GM role and a coaching role for some reason, make horrible trades. That's a perfect comparison. Stan Van Gundy. Totally forgot about that. Alright, so Colts Raiders. I got the Colts barely over the Raiders because Raiders don't have the experience the Colts have. Because Phil, although he doesn't have much playoff success, he does have some knowledge at least. And Dolphins, Steelers, come on. Steelers going to beat the Dolphins. It's going to be an upset. Steelers easily move past the Dolphins. Alright, so I'll start off with the first game, which would be Chiefs versus the Steelers. Even though I'm a big Steelers fan, I can't put the Steelers over the Chiefs. I just can't. Patrick Mahomes. Even though we have one of the best defenses in the league, there's no way we're stopping Mahomes. No way. Especially when we have relatively slow corners with that speed they have on the team. No chance. Colts Ravens. I have the Ravens, even though I hate them. The Colts just don't have enough firepower to beat the Ravens because, as much as I hate to say it, the Ravens do have a loaded roster and definitely are one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. Alright, so
top one.
Nope. So now to the AFC Championship. I have the Chiefs. And it sounds ridiculous that I have the same matchup in the Super Bowl, but I truly believe these two teams, talent-wise, are significantly better in their respective conferences over like the rest of the competition. I truly believe they can both do it again. Even though it sounds ridiculous and it sounds lazy of me just to have the same Super Bowl, I can't see Lamar in a run-heavy offense leading the Ravens to the Super Bowl. Like, that is like legitimately the only threat for the Chiefs.
It's going to be a more balanced attack on offense this year. We picked up Devin Duvernay in the draft. We're going to trade for a person like Allen Robinson at the trade deadline. We're going to make the move to give Lamar another weapon. Hollywood Brown's going to have a breakout year this year because he was riddled with injuries last year. Mark Andrews is going to still be a top 5 tight end. We have a double-headed monster in the backfield with Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins. And we can run the Heisman package. We ran it once last year. We'll run it again. Throw in the Heisman package with Lamar, RG3, and Mark Ingram.
Here's my issue. When the Ravens don't start off strong and they start trailing in games, especially against the Chiefs, Lamar can't pass them back in the game. We all know that. In order for the Ravens to win games, they have to start strong. And when that doesn't happen, they lose games. Like when they played the Browns last year and when they played the Titans in the playoffs.
Okay, but look at what happened after they played the Browns. They went on a 12-game win streak.
Oh, yeah, what happened in Tennessee, huh? Against Tennessee.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about what happened in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Fluke game.
Yeah.
Fluke game. The Titans will never. We won't be in that position next year.
No chance. Anyways, 2 years in a row, I have the same result. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's going to happen. It's never been done before to have the same team win back-to-back over the same team. But it sounds almost improbable, but I think it's going to happen because I just look at the talent on both teams. It's literally ridiculous. Mahomes, back-to-back MVP, and he's going to probably solidify himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer, literally probably in his 4th season already, to be honest, with 2 Super Bowls. I don't know if he's going to MVP or not. We could do that. We could do that in a later podcast, but I have the Chiefs going back-to-back again, and I have porn star Jimmy G losing in back-to-back Super Bowls.
Now, that's really wrong. Now, Drew Brees has a Ray Lewis type season where his team gets to the Super Bowl, but his team doesn't win in his final year. They lose to Ray Lewis's only team, the greatest team in the NFL, one of the greatest run organizations in the NFL. Eric DeCosta's going to pull the trigger mid-season at the trade deadline to get another weapon for Lamar, solidify the offense, and it's going to be a wrap. No one is going to stop our run game. No one.
Yeah, what you guys just heard right there was absolute blasphemous. I think there's a better chance of the Ravens going, Lamar gets hurt and they go 5-11.
Oh
and then
my God.
The receiver they trade for is like Golden Tate, okay?
No,
Which isn't
don't disrespect Eric DeCosta like that, bro. Come on. He was handpicked by Ozzie Newsome. Don't disrespect him like that.
Okay, they can throw. Okay, I guess then they'll throw a first rounder at DJ Chark because Jacksonville's dumping everybody. So they'll throw a first rounder at DJ Chark.
No, we'll throw a 4th rounder at DJ Chark and we'll get DJ Chark. Or, like I said, we throw a 2nd or a 3rd. Let's say we throw a 3rd and a 5th at Allen Robinson. We get Allen Robinson.
I don't think the Bears bite. They're going to be winning games.
They're not. The Bears are going to be 7-9, 6-11.
Bears might be a dark horse Super Bowl team next year, guys. Watch out. You guys heard it here first, bro. Bears are a dark horse Super Bowl team. They're going to be number 2 in the NFC, and they will have a chance at.
You have them. Just shut up.
Dude, they went 8-8 with Trubisky.
Just stop.
And their defense is getting better. Mac had somewhat of a down year this year. Dude, okay, is that really ridiculous? Remember 2 years ago, Bears won the division, should have won a playoff game, but Cody Parkey missed a field goal, so they could have made the playoffs. They could have went further in the playoffs. So I don't think it's ridiculous at all that they can't be considered as a dark horse Super Bowl team. They're like the Niners of last year, where they have the possibility of making the Super Bowl.
That is asinine. That is stupid. That is blasphemous. That is probably the dumbest. I can't say that's the dumbest take you ever had because you've had some stupid takes.
All right, make a bet on it. Make a bet on it right now. Let's make a bet.
You want to make a bet that the Bears make the playoffs?
Yeah.
What do you want to bet?
Whatever you want.
All right, we'll come up with a bet. We'll let the pod know. But the Bears, we'll put a bet on it.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be a donation to the Alex Foundation. Bears no doubt gonna win the division, especially when you have 3 teams in that division who are not the best, and 2 of them are really regressing this year. No doubt. Bills dark horse might make the Super Bowl next year. They might You might see when we edit, like make another video and we edit some of the things that we did in this video, you might see me put the Bears in the Super Bowl over the Niners. You might see that when we make the video right before the season.
Just remember when you made the biggest donation to the Cody Erickson Foundation when you said Cam Reddish was going to get drafted top 5 in the draft last year.
Bro,
you just
first
need to
of all,
stop.
Cam Reddish was literally the best scorer in the draft last year. One of the most skilled forwards we've seen in over the past 5 years. He's mightily underrated, and I think he's going to be the second option to Trae Young in a couple years. So even though I lost the bet, in overall, I think he will be the third best player in that draft. Book it, third best player in that draft. That guy is literally a Paul George. He's 6'10", can shoot it, can play defense, no doubt. He's going to be a all-star in the near future, guaranteed. Even though I lost the bet. But you gotta realize, I'm smarter than these GMs, bro. I would have took him in the top 5, and I would have gotten a better reward than DeAndre Hunter. I mean, he's 3-and-D player, but he ain't no star. And who went 5 again?
Darius Garland.
Yeah, Darius Garland, who's a good scorer, but Cam Reddish is obviously the superior over those two, and that's why I should NBA teams. You gotta be calling me as your GM, guys. But anyways, to get off the NBA stuff, since we could save that for a later podcast. But to recap this video, I would like to thank all y'all for listening to today's episode. Cody's been talking a bunch of BS this whole video. Like, don't listen to him when you hear the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. The Ravens ain't winning nothing. They ain't winning nothing with a quarterback that can barely throw. They got no quarterbacks on the roster. They got Lamar, who's a running back, and RG3 as the backup, who's also a running back.
Don't forget about Trace McSorley.
Who couldn't even win games at Penn State when he had Miles Sanders and Saquon Barkley back-to-back years, and lost and choked the Rose Bowl against USC a couple years ago, man. Hell no.
Book it. I might as well get some Super Bowl merch right now. Ravens going 12-4 into the playoffs, beat the Chiefs twice in the same year on Monday night in probably the best game of the regular season, and then in the Super Bowl again. In Tampa.
Guys, I will get a Ravens tattoo if they win the Super Bowl. It's not happening. That's how confident I am.
So that's it for today's podcast, Bums. Make sure you guys leave a rating or a comment on the pod and spread the word. Also, make sure you follow us on IG, which is left in the description. See y'all bums next episode.